As a child, Cynthia was independent and curious. She struggled to understand her father's religion.
I would ask him questions, and a lot of the questions he wouldn't answer, or he'd get frustrated with me, and his response was, because I said so. I felt very left out at school. I felt very isolated. There was really no outside influence or opportunity to be social outside of the members of the church.
Cynthia carried her loneliness, doubts, and questions into her teens. She dreaded the exhausting work required by the religion.
The Jehovah's Witnesses believe that you can get your salvation through works. And so the more hours you have in field service, the more doors you knock on, the more new converts, the more valuable you are to the Kingdom Home. The older I got, I would play sick every Saturday. I'm not going out in field service, just any little way that I could avoid, doing the works of the kingdom.
The more work her parents did for Kingdom Hall, the more Cynthia rebelled.
I pushed the envelope more. I went out and I did whatever I thought I was big and bad enough to do. Sneaking out with my boyfriend, going places I had no permission.
When Cynthia was 13, her older sister married a man who was not a Jehovah's Witness. Her sister's actions and her parents' reaction finally brought Cynthia to a breaking point with the religion.
My parents had literally thrown all of my sister's clothes out on the front lawn because she had gotten married. I just began to think, this is your child. How can you say you love your child and you love God, but you're treating your child this way? I just began to question. It was just something inside of me that just said, this is not the love of God. So I began to search for God.
Cynthia secretly prayed to God and asked him to reveal himself.
To talk to God for the first time was foreign because, the Jehovah's Witnesses had taught me that God doesn't speak to people. So, here I am talking to this God that can't hear me. I don't know if he can hear me.
Then in her junior year of high school, she experienced something she'd been taught could never happen. She believed she heard the voice of God.
I actually had a pinched nerve, and at the time, no one knew what it was. So I said, Lord, if you heal me, I'll serve you. I don't know who you are. I don't know how to serve you. But if you heal me, I will. I heard the Holy Spirit say, okay. And so I turned my neck and something snapped in the side of my neck. And immediately I was healed. And I knew it was him. And then immediately the peace that I felt once that came over me, it was awesome.
Cynthia kept her personal experiences with God a secret until she moved out of her parents' home. She knew there would be grave consequences. When she was 19 and living independently, she denounced the Jehovah's Witness religion.
I wrote a letter to one of the elders of the congregation, and I told them that I no longer wish to be a witness. I heard later on that they publicly disowned me at the service.
So did Cynthia's parents.
When my parents disowned me, it was devastating. And I remember my dad calling me out of my name, telling me I was not welcome. And it crushed me. There was so many different emotions, but one thing that I kept in the back of my mind is that I had heard the voice of God. So if anything happens, I knew he talked to me when he healed me. So that was what kept me going.
A couple of months later, Cynthia met a pastor at a local gym, and he invited her to church. Because of his invitation, she attended a Christian church for the first time in her life. At first, she was afraid.
I had been taught that all other churches were tied up with Satan, the devil, and to go in and embrace that would be basically worshiping the devil. But there was such a peace that came over me that I knew it was God and I knew it was him leading me. I didn't know how, but I knew it was.
That day, Cynthia learned about Jesus and his plan of salvation. Cynthia gave her life to Christ.
When I first got saved and I asked Christ into my heart, I felt clean. It was like going to the altar. It felt like I was being rinsed of everything. So it was a freeing experience. It was indescribable.
Cynthia's new faith was genuine, but her conversion to Christianity only widened the gap between her and her family.
I fell into a deep depression, and I can remember having a bottle of pills, and I called one of my friends, and I basically told him goodbye because I was planning on killing myself. And right before that happened, he knocked on the door, thank God, and he prayed me out of that depression.
With the support of her church, Cynthia drew on God's strength and encouragement. Her victory over depression came when she started reading the Bible and memorizing scriptures. Cynthia says her hardships only made her faith stronger.
I learned so much about who Jesus was. From my provider, my comforter when I was lonely. He was my peace, when my mind would try to be confused. He's been my mother, he's been my father, he's been everything to me.
Today, Cynthia is still estranged from her family, but she has forgiven them and prays for them. She shares her life-changing story in her book, The Cost of My Salvation.